What was your life like before joining the real world?
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited to talk about this. I've got a really great story that comes from darkness to triumph. I come from a very loving middle-class family, always had an excellent relationship with my parents. That being said, I always knew from a very young age I wanted more out of my life than just to work for somebody else, make somebody else rich for a paycheck. Unfortunately, during my later teens, early 20s, that led me down a very dark path, which led to me actually dealing hard drugs and even doing some time in prison. When I was spending 18 months waiting for my final trial for the charges that I was being brought up on, we found out that my mother had been diagnosed with a very serious cancer. And unfortunately, that meant that I had to really make a decision on what I was going to do. So I ended up taking a plea deal for 6 months in jail instead of the 2 years that they wanted, to make sure I could get out and spend as much time with her as possible. Even though I was able to get out and spend a bit of time with her, my poor choices and lack of direction cost me a big chunk of the last year of her life. And it was pretty tough for a young guy losing his mother in jail. I wasn't in jail at the time, but I was on a very dark path where I very could have easily ended up dead or in jail or something along those lines. But what other choice did I have other than to continue to thrive and survive and move on with my life? So I met a great girl coming out of jail, and we moved away after my mother had passed away to kind of start a new life. I took a decent paying job where I could move away and kind of get my life on track. I worked there for a good number of years, 3 or 4 years, and unfortunately I did end up losing that position due to downsizing. And at that point, I felt our lives were in a good enough place where we could move back to the hometown where we really wanted to be, start a family, kind of settle down, which, my life was finally on a positive path, so it felt like the right thing to do. So that's what we did, and I ended up working a number of jobs, none of which I really liked. They were just put food on the table, pay the bills. I started to have some kids, so, that gets pretty expensive as well. And as time went on, I knew I needed to get back to working on myself and to get out of the job lifestyle, as I've always wanted to. That's when I found Andrew Tate. It's like his teachings came into my life the exact moment I needed it the most. I now have 3 beautiful kids, work for myself at a great freelancing job that I make my own schedule for, a freelance bookkeeping. I invest heavily in crypto, which is the campus I'm most associated with in the real world, with Professor Adam, who gave me an excellent opportunity to become an apprentice there. And it'll pay off big time in the long run. I do believe crypto to be the future. So it's really a story of a young guy really down and out in a really dark place in his life, pushing through and overcoming. And I'm nowhere near finished. I'm not getting comfortable. There's a lot of work to do. I've got big plans, big goals. And I just, it's a great summarization of when you believe in yourself and never give up, you can really achieve anything. Of course, it doesn't hurt when you have someone to look up to.